Hi, this is Matt Kendall once again, and today I've got Juliana from Mia Vita Healing. Juliana's one of the only people in the world who's done my training, my IMT training, offline and online. So we're going to sort of delve into what the difference is between learning in person and also virtually. Before we get onto that, could you please just tell us, before you learned and started using IMT, your background, the kind of people you're working with, your kind of level of training, all that shebang?
Yeah, sure. Hi.
Hi.
So I guess I mainly focus on trauma therapy, and in particular, kind of helping people recover from emotional and narcissistic abuse
Okay.
and kind of childhood trauma. So all the things which revolve around that as well, like healing, let's say limiting beliefs and those kind of things. I mean, I do other kinds of trauma as well, but those are my main focus. And basically I combine like a number of modalities into my practice. So I'm trained in NLP, life coaching, timeline therapy, Reiki energy healing, and EMDR as well. And now IEMT, of course, which is fantastic. So just kind of bringing IMT into the practice really of kind of what I'm already doing and just kind of seeing how that's maybe changing the sessions and what else that can bring into it really.
Cool. So you mentioned there that you've done EMDR.
Yes.
I just did an interview with somebody. I was telling you about who's an EMDR.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can call them practitioner actually, but basically somebody does EMDR. We had a good
Mm.
conversation. So you were doing, so you work on trauma recovery from mainly sort of young childhood sort of related trauma. Do you work with sort of men or women in particular, or is it a balance or?
To be honest, I work with both men and women. I mean, most of my clients are women. I think
Mm,
maybe because women tend to reach out for help maybe a bit more,
yeah.
but I definitely have male clients as well. And actually, I feel like there's more of a trend for men reaching out as well, even for recovering things like from, recovering from narcissistic abuse and that kind of thing. So
Okay.
both really, yeah, yeah.
And that's narcissist. Is that from within a relationship or parental or?
It can be both, and it's quite common to find both actually. Quite
Okay.
common when you've had a narcissistic partner to then kind of go back to your childhood and possibly discover that you've experienced that before, but you may have never known. So yeah,
No, I
it can be
very
quite a
much.
rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you were using EMDR before as well. How was it that you heard about IEMT? What was your introduction to it?
Well, interestingly enough, I actually went for myself as a client a few years ago.
Okay, I remember. That's okay.
Yeah. So I actually went to see, she was actually an NLP life coach. I was doing NLP at the time. Um, and and in any case, I wanted to reach out for some help doing something, to get me through something, and arranged an appointment with this woman. And in the middle of the session, she kind of was like, "Oh, that feeling right there, this memory you've got." She was like, "Hold on to it." And she kind of, was doing this kind of thing. And the next day, even in the session actually, but the next day I was like, what on earth was that? Like she kind of explained it, but in the midst of my session, I wasn't really sure and all that kind of thing. And I just thought that's been absolutely life-changing. Like years of maybe like talking therapy and that kind of thing, which hadn't really resolved much, I thought has all been resolved within a few minutes. Like it was ridiculous. It was such an incredible thing. And that's kind of what started my journey really into thinking I need to find out what this is and, you know, find out, especially I think when
Yeah.
you're working with trauma and stuff, the talking doesn't necessarily work. It's good to talk and be validated and, all of that kind of stuff. But this is so powerful.
Yeah, that's the thing is, it's like, because talking therapy is like support and counseling and stuff.
Yeah.
IEMT is actual change work,
Yeah.
and also like NLP and EMDR, all these things. They tend to change something. Where talking therapy it obviously has its place, and
Yeah.
often people will go for talking therapy before they're ready to actually change stuff.
Yeah.
But you did EMDR. Tell me about the EMDR.
So when I had actually this session, I spoke about myself as a client. I was, I just kind of looked it up and I came across EMDR first.
Hmm.
It was own, and then I kind of went off down the EMDR path and spent a good while doing EMDR and case studies and doing all of that kind of stuff. And that's very transformative as well. It was only until I went back to see this woman like a year later or something, and she was like, that wasn't EMDR, it was IEMT.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, I've got to learn this as well now, because I felt like that's what, you know, that's what created this huge change within me. They can obviously be maybe mistaken for each other sometimes, but they're actually at the core very different.
Yes, yeah.
But having said that, I find that they work well together.
Yeah.
Like EMDR is a lot about the bilateral stimulation. So it's not just eyes, but of course you can use eyes. It's eye movements, but it also works with tapping and this kind of concept of the brain working, you know, to process the traumas and whatever and file it away, where of course IEMT is not about that. But, you know, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. But I find that, I kind of combine bits and pieces.
Cool.
For example, with EMDR, sometimes, you know, if you have clients that have, let's say, complex PTSD, and like I mentioned before about, especially in a case of, let's say, narcissistic abuse, someone might come for the partner, the ex-partner, but then we may unravel a whole load of other past experiences, things from their childhood, so it can get really, really deep. So in EMDR, we do a lot of resourcing and teaching the client grounding techniques. And this kind of stabilization period can go on for like weeks or months or whatever, depends on the client. With IEMT, of course, we don't spend all that time doing the resourcing, but it's also very rapid. And in that, you know, that can also be used for, let's say, the kind of little T traumas that come up as well along the way, which maybe someone has a thought and goes, oh, I just remembered this thing, or I just remembered that thing. Instead of maybe going into the entire EMDR protocol, you can be like, oh, I'll just do it. And I mean, a lot of it's intuitive, isn't it? You know, from working with the clients, you know how they'll. With
the interview I did yesterday with EMDR and IEMT, we kind of both came to a conclusion that EMDR is a therapy model and IEMT is a technique.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. IEMT can be used on its own, but what IEMT is really good at is being used in combination with other things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. EMDR is a real full-on commitment.
Yeah, and it's done over. It's like an 8-phase process done over
8 phases, exactly. Yeah.
Done over a number of weeks and months. Where IEMT is designed to essentially be done within 2. Well, the way that I teach it to be done in 2 sessions. If you're using pure sessions, if you're using it within coaching, then it can be your coaching program. Okay, definitely. So you heard about IEMT. You went and trained in EMDR by mistake, and then you learned it was IEMT again. So you went back to your original person. So when was your original training? Was it last year?
Yeah, it was. My goodness. Well, it was just before the first lockdown. It was literally like a week before lockdown or something. Yeah. And we were all like, oh, imagine if this goes on till Christmas or whatever it was. But yeah.
Did we flatten the curve? I can remember what it's all about. Flattening the curve, I think. Right. So we did that. So I think it was probably the first week of March.
Yeah,
I did. It was either March or February, because I actually went to do a training in Felixstowe, literally the week before lockdown, the actual week before. And then you did it in October.
I think it was at the end. I think it was more like August.
The online.
Online, yeah.
I did my first.
I can't remember.
No, it was a bit later than that. Yeah, no, it was later than that. I didn't do one online.
Okay.
You've done 2 trainings.
Anyway, I've done 2, and one of them was online.
One of them was online. Okay, so let's get into this. Is the offline training is 2 days. The online training is 3 days. Simply because I find it's a bit more intense to sit at a screen for that amount of hours, and also it's harder for me to monitor what people are doing in their rooms, because as you know, when we're doing it in person, I'm walking around the room helping people. I can't do that in a virtual setting, so I've made it over 3 days. And also you'll probably found that the difference between the training on the offline to the online, I've redesigned it a lot to make it much more modular, to make it less overwhelming so people can use it. I like to think of it like Lego. They put little bits of Lego together to create it. But what was your experience doing it both sort of offline and online? What did you think about the tools, the training, the experience, what it was like having it done to you, what it was like having it done, doing it to other people? So what was your experience like of the training?
I think, you know, to be completely honest, when we did the kind of face-to-face training, obviously it was before lockdown, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get my case studies in, didn't do them, and that's why I came back to do online. And I'm assuming I'm not the only person in this, but I kind of thought, oh, I really wish I could do it face-to-face. Never mind, I'll just sit there and listen, you know, it'd be an online thing. I can just top up what I know already. But I was really surprised and pleased, actually, of how much value got really from doing it online. Like there was no kind of, if I think about it in terms of how much I enjoyed it and stuff, I don't think there was a massive difference. I think I enjoyed it just as much. And I think actually as well, the fact that it is done over 3 days, you also have that time to also get to know other people in the group as well. You've got that extra time, which is really nice. So it wasn't massively different in terms of enjoyment or learning or even socializing, because we'd go off in the different groups and have a chat and everything. So all of that was really good. And I liked the way that it was broken down into modules as well, because it is more bite-sized, and especially because you're at home, it's easy to be like, oh, I'll just make a cup of tea, or I'll just check my phone, or, you know, not that I was, of course, doing that. In theory, you know, it's you can, even though you're at home, you can get more distracted. So I think bite-sized kind of, it's kept it just as engaging and interesting and stuff. So I really enjoyed both.
Cool.
I wouldn't say to someone particularly, oh, you should do it much more in person than online or whatever. I think it's a personal thing, but I enjoyed both.
I enjoyed doing it online more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
Because I've done it twice now, and I now know how to really do it online. So the next one will be sort of, it's because I got the in-person one down pat, you know, because I've done it so many times. I knew exactly how to do it. I'd almost finished the training to the minute, you know, because I had it. And then we went online because the world closed down. So like, so I was thinking, how can I replicate the in-person experience online? And that's what I've really tried to do. So I tried to make it as engaging as possible by going through every single person to make sure they have questions. Because the way that I train is introduction to the module or to the method, a demonstration with somebody. You then do an exercise. We then do a review, recap, and questions, and we do that on every single item. So we talked about the online, offline. What did you think about the content? Also, so in terms of the eye movement stuff, and also in terms of like the patterns of chronicity, what did you find? How did you enjoy the actual content itself?
I mean, really interesting, because it's not, I think it's always, you always present, and I'm not doing this to kind of sing your praises, I would say this anyway, not just because you're here. But I think the information is really interesting. I have a bit of a, when it comes to learning things, I have ADHD as well, so I find it quite difficult to learn and absorb information and kind of, you know, grasp it and retain it. That's quite a difficult thing for me. I can do it, and in the end, I've done it just as well as, you know, someone else who's done it, but it takes me twice as long. So in that respect, I just found it really kind of easy to get on with and interesting and fun, you know. And I think one of the key things as well is, you know, to always bring that fun in, and finding a way to bring it in even when you're talking about trauma, which obviously isn't fun, and not to laugh about, you know, obviously the, you know, stuff that's happened, but finding a way to make things lighthearted but kind of serious stuff. I think that was, so it made the learning fun.
And that's what I try to do. There is a fine balance between, I've been to a lot of workshops and trainings that are just boring. And then I've been to some where it's like going to a comedy gig where it's like, you have fun, but they've really not stuck to the content, and I've not learned anything.
Exactly.
And I've been to a lot like that. It's like, I had a good time, but I can't do anything different. So I sort of go between the two, you know, so I always stick true to the material. It's all timing, you know, it's all timed precisely down to what I'm doing. But I want to make it fun and engaging for a couple of reasons. The main one, when you're having fun, you retain more information and you learn more.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, if you can make something fun, you probably should.
Mm.
You know, just because you may as well. If you've got some
Yeah, why
time,
not?
you may as well. Why not? You may as well make it fun, because
Exactly.
I do take the training very seriously. But we should sort of, it's not sort of a very dictatorial kind of thing. It's a very like, we're going to have fun doing this. We're learning these great techniques, and the more you relax, the more open people sort of generally become as well. And like, even when I'm doing client sessions, they are fun sessions, you know.
Yeah.
So, because the thing is, if you're really somber and so what's the problem, you know, you put somebody into that state. It's like talking to a funeral director. They're really somber, you know, that
Yeah.
sort of that caring. So when I go in, oi, in, you know, and it's
Yeah.
very sort of jovial, because I want them in a state where I can work with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
If somebody's just sad, they will tend to be closed off and emotional, as opposed to being open and receptive. So it's not a trick. It's an approach I use to make sure people are going to sort of be receptive in that case.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
you did the training, you've finally done your case studies. Very good. So let's talk about, how did you find it taking the stuff from the training room to the real world? What were your case studies like? How's it been using IEMT on real people?
Wow. I think the biggest thing as well, which probably covers what you asked me before about the difference between in person and online, I think the biggest thing was wondering, is this really going to work online? And then you're like, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing when you realize that it does, considering you've got good Wi-Fi connection and all the rest of it. But ultimately, even if you don't, you're there to guide their eyes. So if there's a little glitch, it's not going to, do much. But yeah, it lived up to all my expectations, I guess I would say, because doing it online as well and being able to just finally get stuck in and using it and everything has just been amazing. It's amazing to see someone there. And I think as well, when you're doing especially trauma work, having someone on that other side of the screen thinking, oh, I hope my Wi-Fi doesn't cut out, and they might be somewhere far away, and you think, oh no, and it's kind of, you feel more, you feel maybe a bit more worried that they're not okay and they're so far away and they're on the other side of the screen. And I think with the IEMT, what's so great is that it still works really fast on that screen.
Yeah.
So that they can, have their distress decreased, even though they're so far away. I think that's what's nice about IEMT, rather than maybe if it was talking therapy or something like that, or something else. And then you're like, okay, bye. And then you just got to put the laptop down. With IEMT, if something comes up in a session that maybe they weren't expecting or something, the fact that you're able to kind of alleviate that distress there and then so fast is also one of the benefits, I would say, to actually working online.
Absolutely. And what kind of results have you helped people to generate? What kind of things have you found, and how have clients responded to it?
Yeah, I think, you can see a visible difference even from session to session. Let's say, for example, just, when we're reviewing the week before, how did you find that and everything? And they're like, that's actually been fine. And it just, the fact that it kind of might alleviate anxiety around other issues as well. Like, they might be like, oh, I'm just feeling less anxious in general and stuff like that, that it's maybe resolved things that they weren't expecting as well, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I absolutely find that if you alter one part, it's like different cogs, isn't it? If you alter something here, it's likely to actually alter different. So if you improve people's confidence in a relationship, that will often sort of transfer over into work.
Yeah, things like
and
that.
Socially, which I absolutely get as well.
And I guess
No, sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to say, it just came in my mind. I guess the identity work as well, when you're kind of, let's say, dealing with childhood trauma as well, and they've got that kind of wounded inner child, and there's lots of things going on surrounding identity. That identity work can be really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Healing the childhood trauma stuff.
Yeah, I don't talk about identity stuff much outside of the training, simply because it's quite a big concept to kind of take on and grasp, and without going through it, it sounds a bit weird, to be perfectly honest. Like, I remember when I first did my original, because I did my training a couple of times and then I did the trainer training, everything. The first time I did the identity, I was like, what's this? this isn't my wheelhouse. You know what I mean? Because it's just nothing which I'd known about or cared for. But
Yeah.
then I got using it, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, it's actually very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Um, and when we do the identities, the identity of the person, and also the identities of other people as well, and how that's reflected in that person, how it's. Um, and have you used that? How, like, the identities of other people within that person and limiting beliefs and stuff like that? How did that go?
Yeah, that's really good, because also I think when you're, because the narcissistic abuse, there's a lot of
Yeah,
about an ex-partner,
yeah,
and there's a lot of, how that impacts someone's limiting beliefs about themselves and all the rest of it. So the identity, the identity work is something that I use quite a lot, actually.
So when you do work now, when you're
Mm.
working, how often do you how long do you see clients for, and how much IEMT do you use within your sessions? Do you do pure sessions, or do you integrate it in?
Yeah, it varies.
Okay.
So I kind of I just tailor it according to the client. So when someone starts, we'll do, at the beginning session or second session or whatever, I'll do like an IEMT kind of trial, let's say, of working on something that's not so traumatizing, just to see how they respond to it, how they react to it,
It's
and
always
just to
great,
kind of,
that bit, isn't it, to see?
yeah, and
Yeah.
just to kind of, they're kind of like, really,
What?
what
Looking
on
for the
earth was
problem.
that?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
never
they're
tire
literally
of that.
looking
I
for
never.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I never tire of that.
Yeah, and that's amazing, and then you can see, hopefully that it's going to go well, and you can say, like, it's really led by the client, because if they come, for example, and they're recovering from narcissistic abuse, they might just want to go through a list of intrusive thoughts and memories and nightmares that they have, and we'll literally just be doing, pure-ish IEMT, let's say. But I also do kind of life coaching, but it's more like therapeutic life coaching. So someone might want to achieve whatever goal. It might be a healing goal, not necessarily, a goal that's revolved around work or something. But we might do kind of life coaching. And then, for example, if they get stuck at a certain point because they think, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, I can't do this, then we'll be like, hang on a minute, hold that feeling, and then we'll just do a quick kind of blast, and just do it once. So it will just depend. But that's what I love about it, because it's so versatile. You don't have to say, let's do this or this. You can just kind of see.
It's not the 8 phases that you have to work through on a particular.
Exactly.
It's like, what's the problem? Hold it. Right. Let's carry on with.
Yeah, that's what's amazing.
Yeah,
love
no.
that.
And that's what I find when people who do coaching, counseling, and different therapies, they bring in the IEMT for, like, I like to call the heavy lifting. So bring it in for, like, the big memories, emotions, identities, and also by using the patterns of chronicity to see how people are staying stuck, and bring it in for that. Let me ask you, what kind of impact has learning IEMT had on your business, your practice, your confidence, your results?
Well, I would say, because even though I did this course a while ago, I've obviously only just passed.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So I haven't been using it too long yet, but I can see that the impact is going to be huge. I have used it already. I've got a couple of clients that I have used it on, and I've already seen, I know that it's going to have a huge impact. And also, as a therapist, kind of confidence wise, you just think, this can't not work. Like, there's some, it really is. It's just such a valuable tool to have. It's just incredible. It really does resolve things so fast, and it has such an effect. So far, having great results with it. I don't know of the overall impact, because I've still got to get on and use it now that I've got my certificate.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and this is it. It's basically how you integrate it into your practice. And that's sort of the important thing, is there's no point learning a tool or a skill set if you're not going to use it.
Exactly.
So it's the important thing is to take these skills into the real world, into your clients, and use them with your. Sorry, getting rid of getting emails coming in. I just closed my email down. That's meant to be closed. I'll tell you what. Earlier on today, I got I've got an auto reply, and somebody sent me, and they've also got an auto reply. So I had about 300 or 400 emails. This morning. Anyway, back to IEMT. So, so you're sort of relatively new to obviously implementing it in your own. How have you found the aftercare in the community and the support and help from the from myself and the IEMT people?
Yeah, really good. On a personal level, I haven't been involved as much as I've wanted to, just because I've just let lockdown pass me by. Okay. But you know, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate kind of going on to, let's say, Facebook, or getting an email and being like, oh, you know, that's nice, and I'll just check that out quickly. What's this? And oh, there's, you know, different, you know, interview on, or there's different advice. And I just think that's so valuable as well.
Yeah.
Because one of the things is, I guess, isn't it, when you finished a course, sometimes it's easy to be like, oh, I didn't really understand that, or you know, and you're trying to kind of, you know, or think, oh, am I doing the right thing? Or you just want that support. So I think that's like a huge bonus, really.
Yeah,
I think that's really good.
Because I have, you know, I offer sort of email support, and I'll often say, put that question into the group as well, because you know, other people benefit. So I have the IEMT support group, which I run, and I'm in there every day answering questions and doing live videos. And I'm also going to start doing a monthly practice session as well.
Yeah, I saw that. That's so good.
So yeah, so I'll be probably, hopefully by the end of this month, I'll probably get that sorted. And again, it's like my aim is to get as many people trained and using IEMT. So I don't want to train all the people I can. I want to train the people who want to learn it, but then who want to use it. That's my sort of,
that's the thing.
Yeah, sort of quality over quantity, as it were.
Definitely, because you don't want people to learn it and then be like, oh, I've just never really used it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know how good it is, and the people who learn it and use it in the real world know how good it is, and that's sort of I aim from this. Okay, so for the people who are watching at home, who are thinking, do I need this is it worth me learning? Is it worth my time or money? What do you have to say to those people who are currently on the fence?
Just do it. I mean, like, literally nothing to lose. It's not going to be one of those things that you learn and think, oh, I don't know if I'll use this. Like, just, that's not going to happen at all. Like, you're going to use it and think, oh my God, I need to get out there and start finding people to, you know,
to finger. All right, Juliana, if people want to know more about you or contact you to become a client, how can they find you?
Yeah, so my website is miavitahealing.com, and then I'm on Instagram the same, miavitahealing, and on TikTok as well.
On TikTok,
a little community going there. So yeah, therapy, mental health TikTok, miavitahealing again. So.
Juliana, thank you very much for your time, and I will speak to you
in
in the near future. Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.